you're going to run with it. So let's get right into it. I would like to hear our reviews about Professor Wangari Maathai's documentary. What struck us the most? What inspired you about the story? How did it make you take action? So I'd like to hear from us. Who is going to take the lead tonight? Share your insights on the story, on Professor Wangari Maathai's experience. What did you feel while watching that documentary? How did you feel? Like, for me, I just felt this fire burning inside me. Then I was so lucky to discuss with Miss Brady after watching it, and I was like, wow, what a woman! What a woman! So who is going first? I'd like to hear our reviews.
And Bolu, I'd like it to be under, I mean, you can use, if you've done your workbook here, you already know where to go. Please, a leading lady is always ready. Feel free to call on any
I can see Victoria Gbadamosi, yes, leading lady Victoria. Yes, come on, we're excited to have you. So
this is how leaders do.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening, beautiful.
Good evening. We can barely hear you, but we can see you. We can see your beautiful face.
I think you muted yourself. But we could hear you the first time.
Hello?
Victoria, okay. Yes, you are here now.
It's better now?
Yes, it's better. We can hear you now.
Once again, it took a lot of courage for me to show my face. Sorry about the background and stuff. So it's my first time here. I just joined, I was just added to the group today.
Wow.
And watching history, one of the parts that struck me the most was the fact that the opposing parties, which was protesting for, I think it's the parliament, I can't remember.
The line is breaking.
Can't hear you. The line is breaking.
Now?
Okay, do it again.
Better now?
Yeah, we'll be trying once more to be hearing. Yeah, carry on. And you can disconnect audio and connect right on again, or maybe leave the meeting and come right back in, so it'll be good. Okay, try now that you've removed your video. Can you try?
Can you hear me?
It's a little
okay. We can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. I'm so sorry for delaying everyone. So I was saying that one of the parts that struck me the most is the fact that when she was running for the parliament seat or for a particular political post, I can't remember exactly, that the opposing party, found her so much of a threat that they had to publish a fake news just so that she would not win. So that showed how much of an influence she had in her environment, how much of an influence. Do you understand? People that have been telling her, because her husband divorced her because he thought she was too strong-willed for a woman and stuff, and she had origin episodes around her. But the fact that despite all of that, that means they saw the strength that she possessed. They saw that she could do it. That one just really encouraged me. Now imagine that she had actually, decided to maybe mellow or maybe lay back a little because of the positions she had faced. But no, like she still continued to, strive for more. And then they found out so much of a threat that they had to just issue a fake news. And even after that, she did not give up until she eventually got it. And the fact that they did not really, they recognized her in her own country, they opposed her, but then the recognition that she did not have in her home country other people saw it and then they were able to honor her for it. So that part taught me that sometimes the people around you may not see the value that you're bringing. That doesn't mean you should compromise your own stand for their own happiness or for their own comfort. Do you understand that those that will see your value would see it? And eventually, even though it was somehow late, but then she was able to influence a lot of people, and her legacy still stands today. Thank you,
Yes,
everyone, for listening.
yes.
And
Thank
somebody
you so
stand up
much.
in their house and clap for Victoria.
Thank you so
Madam
much,
Musi.
Victoria. We celebrate you. Thank you for that. That was really powerful. Thank you so much. I
Please
can
tell me,
see,
Bolu, why is Victoria a leading lady?
Ma.
Why is Victoria a leading lady?
She's a leading. I didn't really get that, Ma.
Why is she, like, from what you've seen of her, how would you say she's a leading lady?
Oh, she's a leading lady because she showed up. She owned the stage and she just showed up and just gave us those powerful words.
She owned her power.
Yes.
She found her voice. Some of
Found
you,
her
voice
voice and
is in your throat, but you don't want to let it out. But today is the last day. My voice is coming out of my throat. Your voice is like, let me out of, I want to speak, because your brain is sending, your brain has already analyzed this thing. The voice is like, I'm the messenger. It's like you're holding baton and you don't want to pass it to who is taking it forward. Your voice is like, I want to go. You say, no, voice, stay in the throat. And she stood for truth. Is any of you who remember these three things, you have learned it before, you've seen it before, put it in the chat. I want to see. Now, when she found her voice, she didn't stay in her house. Now sometimes you are watching TV, you now start saying what they were saying. No, she knew that, okay, the mic is in my hands. This is the platform. So she stood up and she spoke her truth. The truth. Okay? And Tommy says, like, no, somebody will not, the first time I will not come and win me. So give Thomason and Fake-Kemi the mics.
Okay, Thomason, you can have the floor. We'd like to hear from you, particularly if you can speak towards, we highlighted 7 values from the story of Professor Wangari Maathai. And if you can speak from any of them, we would actually love that.
Okay, great. Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, leading lady.
Mrs. Bralade, happy Mother's Day. Thank you for nurturing us, because that's one of the works of a mother, is to nurture, and you do that with us, and we are grateful for that. Thank you. Also, to buttress what Victoria said, one of the things is excellence. Even though people around her were not seeing how she was putting in the work and just standing out in her field, people outside could see it. So people in your immediate circle might not see the effort you're putting into your work. They might even see it and just be so familiar with it that they really don't. They're like, is it not Bolu? Bolu does this every time. But people out there can see it, and they recognize that. I'd like to speak on excellence. And for me, a simple definition of excellence is to rise above mediocrity. In everything you do, to rise above mediocrity. And that was it. After we I watched the video that was sent to the group, I also went to Wikipedia to check, like, who is this woman? And by the time, Wikipedia would usually give you like a breakdown. He said that she was raised on a farm. She was just a regular African girl. She could have ended up in any man's as a second or third wife, just cooking soup all the days of her life and be frustrated and angry. But she wanted more for her life. And, it was a time where girls' education was not even a thing. But still, she put in the work. Put in the work. I checked several definitions of excellence, and he was screaming Wanga name, because you could just see that she was doing this thing. She stood out. She had virtue. She was standing for what she believed in. She was putting in the work. She didn't now just say, "Oh, because I believe in tree planting, I believe that the African woman has a voice, or this or that." She went to gain knowledge in this area. So it's more than, and when I checked definition of expertise, it was that you practice, you study, you train towards something, and you see her doing that. in the early 80s, or what is that year now, this woman was already thinking of having an MSc. She was already thinking of going further and doing her PhD. She wasn't saying, I beg you, I'm the only one doing this thing and everybody has left me to it. No. She was making many firsts, just breaking grounds anyhow. My body was standing like, who's this woman? Where is she tapping power from? And then you just realize that this power actually is resident in each and every one of us. It's just in our ability to actually push beyond mediocrity and push beyond the barriers that our environment and life has placed on us. And our story is a very beautiful one. I can keep going on all just talking about the story, because I mean, this one she just blows my mind. Let me just stop there. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lily Lady Tominsi. Thank you. That was beautiful. Yes. Someone said our ability to push beyond mediocrity. Excellence. Thank you for that. And thank you for speaking to expertise too. Thank you so much. We celebrate you. And Little Lady Feyikemi, I saw you raising up your hand. You can own the stage now. The spotlight is on you.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Mrs. B. Thank you so much for the
You're
opportunity,
welcome.
and thank you so much, Dr. B. I'm really, really grateful. And I think one thing that got me about her, or let me say two things. Actually, I wrote it in my notebook. We have to
Yes, the
answer the
workbook.
questions in that workbook. Okay, the first thing was about
Feyikemi,
that
please
champion.
let them clap for you, please. Let them clap for you. Say, that's what we're supposed to do. We don't even have to do it all. We just should do it if we're going to really learn this thing. When Wangari went, she didn't say, please, me, I'm from Africa, I beg. People are discussing your serious things. Let me be going to my own. No, she was like, no, my own is different. I came here to study because I'm about to save my whole continent. So are they clapping for you? Because I'm not seeing the clapping.
Yes.
Okay, they're clapping now. All right, you can go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So it said Professor Wangari functioned at the intersection of politics, being an environmentalist and a mother. I mean, even as a student, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little bit hard. I'm trying my best to really, really balance a lot of things. And it seemed like she could actually, like, when I saw that she had a political post at a point and she was an environmentalist, it's really got to me that we can be more, like, we should not just box ourselves into, okay, this is how, or this is what I think I should be. And when other things, maybe destiny is calling you in a particular area, and you're just like, no, this is what I've been used to, or this has always been my childhood dream, or I've always wanted to be a doctor, or I've always wanted to be a lawyer. No, like, you can actually just diversify and answer to whatever God has for you. And also that she was not even a doctor, she was not even any noble profession. I mean, we all know about African and everything. I know the kind of like talks about with a lot of people, and everybody wants to see. Now I know tech is actually really, but really that mentality of I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, it's very okay. I mean, if you have the passion, if you know the reason why you want to be. But she was not a doctor, she was not a lawyer, she was not anything. She didn't even study a very big course. She was just an environmentalist, and she still made impact. So we can actually, there's no field. No field is inferior. You can study Yoruba and you can still make it. You can study anything. You're not a definition. The blessing is not upon the course. Your course of studies is upon you. So we should not just feel boxed. Okay, I wanted to study medicine. They gave me agric. I wanted to study this in school. It's very common. Like, people just say Nigeria like changing destinies of people. Even though fine, some things might happen along the way, but the Bible says whatsoever your hands find to do, not whatsoever you want to do. So sometimes it may not really happen in a certain way or the way we've planned out, but we trust that God is orchestrating our path, and in whatsoever we find our hands to do, we should just do it well. So that's what I learned.
Wow.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Wow, thank you so much. Someone said, preach this. Yes. Even though they give us lemons, we'll make lemonade out of them. Thank you so much for you coming. That was really profound. Thank you. I can see Olufola also raising up her hand, leading lady Olufola. Thank you so much for owning the stage. Now you have it. Let's hear you speak.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, leading lady.
Yes, ma. So I want to greet Dr. B, and I want to say thank you for being a true mother, and thank you for nurturing us. Thank you for your impact and your contributions towards our growth. We appreciate you. Thank you very much, ma.
You too.
Yes, from the resources we've been studying this month, I actually learned a lot, because the story made me to. I saw myself in her at some point, and I felt challenged, and I was like, wow, this woman has a lot to offer actually, and I'm not sure they even presented the full story or the full gist, as failures, as struggles, and other things that went, behind the scene before she could come to the stage. I learned that success is not accidental. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of struggles and a lot of things to step out and achieve success. It's not something that will come accidentally, or you just eat it and they will say, wow, you are so lucky. Sometimes people tell us we are lucky, we don't really know what they are doing to us. They are undermining our strength, they are undermining our experiences, our knowledge, our expertise, because it takes a lot. So if they tell you are lucky, don't feel excited. They are really, really downplaying the effort you are playing in the success, or in the towards the result that you have achieved. So also, I learned that excellence requires capacity. That woman to even step out and say she wants to take on political ambition, she wants to further into that area. It really takes a lot of capacity. I saw that she had built a capacity from a lot of I don't know how to put it now, but she has really worked on herself to do some self-development, so that the vision she's carrying, she will have enough capacity to actualize and hit her goals. I think that's what women need to learn these days. That it's not just about dreaming. We don't stop at just dreams and vision. You have to take a step further. You have to take a step further. So it's not just about seeing myself as a governor, because we now have the first female governor in Nigeria. She won the election, and I started digging out some stories about her. I went to check on her page. I went to do some background study, and I realized that this woman has been senator for over the years, and she has made some impact even before she stepped out that she wants to be a governor. Then also, I realized that I've said it before, it takes effort to break grounds. Women should not look down on themselves that, wow, I've not really seen some of my ladies in my cycle go for this. Why can't you be the first to break grounds in that direction? Why can't you be the first to eat it? Why can't you be the first to forge ahead? So these are the lessons I learned, though I learned a lot of things, but this is just the summary. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Olufola, leading lady.
Olufola.
Wow.
So Olufola, what have you decided to apply? And that's something the others have not said. Ladies, when you're hearing people dropping things like this, don't be adding it in the chat. See what she said about excellence requires capacity. Ooh. The way I saw it is that excellence requires capacity. Then I see capacity requires excellence, because sometimes you think, how do I do all these things? Are you an excellent person? Because if you are, somehow you will be able to, you will gain the wisdom. First of all, to know what capacity you even need to create for what is important at that time in your life. So Olufola, will you add that real quick? What's one thing did you change? And maybe in the next couple of people who come on, I'm not seeing any hands raised. I know it's my eye. This is my contacts. There's a way they do sometimes, because I know that it's not real. You know what I'm saying? So I'll blame it on my eyes. We still have at least 3 more people who are going to speak to this. And if there's any section no one has spoken to, can you just mention that section from the workbook, and then they can talk, speak to it. But Olufola, what is one thing you've decided to do differently, or you've decided to add in your life?
Yes, for like 5 to 6 months, I've held this vision in my heart that I want to bring a transformation to the health sector in Nigeria. So I see myself as taking, some positions, maybe as a minister of health and all that. And sometimes I used to feel, well, there's nobody in my family that have done this, or do I really have what it takes? So sometimes I just ignore the nudge. Though I've been preparing, but sometimes I just feel like there's no point there. Let me just forget about it. So when I read the story, I felt really challenged, and I was like, wow, really, it takes audacity to actually take some steps. It takes audacity to work on your vision. It takes audacity to say you really want to do this and insist until you do that. So I had to go back to my diary and I had to check my goals again. And I wrote it down that, Fola, you are going for this and you must achieve this goal.
Wow. Profound. Thank you, Olufola. Thank you, leading lady Olufola. We can't wait. We are so eager to see you achieve those goals, right? Thank you so much. All right, I can see Immaculata's hand on, raised up. Leading lady Immaculata, I can see Tobinson's hands again. Okay, so while Olufola was speaking, I just remembered this quote that many of us know from Akila and there's a part there that says, we ask ourselves, who am I to the brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? That's one thing I like was just resounding inside my mind. Who are you not to be that person? Because I'm sure Professor Wangari Maathai had this picture in her mind. It might not have been this magnificent. She might not have seen it as, oh, I would one day end up winning the Nobel Prize and all those, but she had it and she went for it. So who are you not to be? Okay, so let's hear from you, leading lady Immaculata.
While Immaculata is coming, Thomason, just come right quick and say what you had.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry to be no, not to disrupt anyways. But yes, there was just something that I felt was just for only me, but there's just this unease in my mind to just share it. And it is there are two things. The first one is like Braladi had mentioned earlier during the review on Friday, is the ordinariness of this woman. It's just it's really mind blowing that there's really no extra effort she puts into maybe looks or anything like that. She's just a regular woman, showing you that it is possible. Like a market is like seeing a woman that sells something in my 12 market doing this kind of thing, like an environmental thing. It's just is crazy. Like how did this woman think of this? And secondly, the other thing that did blow my mind about her is that she was so resilient. Like how can one person face this opposition? And I recently saw a post by Apostle Tomi Arayomi where he said that most people think the will of God is known when he opens the door. He says no, you know the will of door with God when the door is closed. He says when the door is closed, you are redirected to what the will of God is. And it just shows you that no matter what you are doing, opposition will always come. Never expect that there will be a time when everything will be easy and rosy. And you would imagine that after people have known this woman, heard so much about her, she ran for presidency and people who still didn't even support her. You would always face opposition no matter what rank you get to, you would always almost face oppositions. And that's one thing because I'm someone who can be very dreamy at times. So I would always think that there will come a time in life, when everything will just be rosy. But it's like God just keeps reminding me that now it's not really going to be rosy like that. You're going to be here. You're going to it's going to always be a high and a low and a high and a low, and you have to be comfortable with that. And I think that's one thing that most women should learn. It would never be comfortable. The world would probably not for the longest time still come to understand that women are here to take these things. They will still question you, why do you think you should do it? And I love that quote that from Akila and Dibi that
Yeah.
Lady Bolu brought back. You wonder, who am I to be this? Who is my father's house? Why should I even consider myself? There are so many times I think of crazy things. I tell myself, listen, you are too crazy. You are too crazy. Have you looked at yourself? Check the environment. And then I remind myself that now it is a possibility. It can start with me. It might not have happened with the ones behind me, but it can start with me. And I can even lay foundations for the ones.
Can start with me.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. That's really profound. Even if it has not happened in my father's house, it has not happened to anyone around me, it can start with me. And that's why we are light. We are the light of the world. Okay, so someone also dropped a comment to review, and I'll just like to quickly run through it. Okay. And okay, it was Olajumoke that said she was so full of life, so much that she needed to see it obvious in her environment and her country. There were so many things she couldn't stand, and she wasn't quiet about them. She had influence and she knew it. She used this and it was inspiring. Yes, that's, I don't know how the way Tominson was describing the story is the same thing that happened to me. Like, it really struck me because I remember now going online to read a quote she said, and she said, "The environment we destroy today, we are not the ones, I'm paraphrasing now, that would reap the effect of how much we destroyed it." I'm like, who is this woman? She's not even thinking about herself. She's thinking about all that. She's thinking about the future generation. She's thinking about things ahead. Okay, Immaculata, you are here. And she went on to still fight for the rights of people that she was never going to meet. She went on to pave way for women in the society. And that was really inspiring. So Immaculata, you can have the floor. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. B. And happy Mother's Day to Coach B too. Yes, so I think I'll just touch on two things that I think struck me when I was listening to the documentary, and one of it is endurance. The fact that a lot of people said wonderful things about her, like opposing things about her. She heard these things from people. And I know how emotional women tend to be, and how emotional we
I'm
can,
sorry, which
like
women, Immaculata? Which women?
Like women.
Well,
Women
why are you
tend to be
generalizing us?
in reality.
Immaculata, carry on, darling.
Okay, ma. Okay, so then I just wondered how she was able to live above that space of, or that time of people speaking at her, these opposing things at her, and sometimes even carrying out fake news and all about her. So it spoke to me that when we have a dream, when we have a vision, we should base more on our inner power, like what is within us, than the external forces around us, because the external can actually deceive us or make us shrink, and then affect the inner power that is within us. So on focusing on the inner power, the inner strength we have, we would be able to surmount and be able to overcome the external forces. And the fact that we are not weak, it's because we listen to some things that people say. That's why we think that we are weak. But there are people in history that we have seen that have been able to overcome these things, that have been able to overcome negative things. So we are not weak. If we can tap into the strength on our inner man, our inner strength, we'll be able to see that we can do so much more than we even thought about. And then the second thing I would like to say is the fact that people actually trusted her. Like, it's not easy to start a movement in a place, and then even see the women supporting the movement, because of in those days, like, they tend to shrink women. So you come in as a woman to start a movement and you still see women supporting this movement. It just spoke to how resilient and how powerful she must have thought of herself. Like, she must have thought she was unstoppable, and she just had to carry out this vision and dream that she had. So people actually trusted her because she had proved herself trustworthy. She was competent at what she does. She had learned, she had proven herself to be someone they can look up to and someone who would lead them in the right direction. So they were not afraid that she was going to lead them astray. They could stay with her in the face of challenges because they knew that the person they are following is actually a leader, and this person is a secured leader. She knows what she's doing, and they could actually trust her. And the last thing I'll just use to wrap up is that as
So
leaders,
you had all these things to say since, and I was calling you.
Oh,
That's all I want to know.
Oh.
Okay, you have 30 seconds. Please wrap up. And then...
Okay, ma. The last thing I would just like to say is it's still on the relationship leaders have with people, because when we rise to a certain extent, we begin to forget that the people around us are actually looking up to us, and whatever we do influences how they behave. So if she at that point of influence, if she made any wrong step, they were bound to follow her. They were bound to do what she was doing. So it's also a check on our activities, on how we portray ourselves, even after we become leaders. I think that's all. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. You had so much to say, and thank you for sharing at least the ones shared with us. Thank you so much, everyone. I am super excited right now. I am so excited because we have someone special in our midst. We have our lead, our model mentor right here. And I am so excited. Let me have this excitement. Also, let me hear your excitement, everyone. Leading ladies, can I hear you? Can you? Yes. Thank you. I can see the chat section already. Oh my God, you're welcome, Ma. We are so excited to have you. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Good evening, Ma. You are looking so beautiful and radiant, and we are so happy to have you. Welcome, Ma. It's such an honor, really. Since beginning of last week, we've been reading about you, checking the website. Who is this powerful woman? Oh my God, who is this woman that's coming to speak to us? Wow. Thank you so much, Professor Emese. We are so grateful that you're here tonight. And it's such a privilege that we've also seen a video from you. We had to go dig deep into the internet and say, let us start learning from this, our model mentor for this month. Before we have this session, we have to start learning. And so went on to YouTube and saw one of your videos, and there were so many lessons to learn. Very profound video. Oh, thank you. I can see the comments. Please keep them coming. And so you spoke about the about success, how that a leader should, how we can be successful. And you spoke about 3 important things that are very important to attain success. You spoke about God, you, that's we, and also the external factors. So many things to learn. Someone said that video structured my mind. Seriously, it was really simple, 10 minutes, yet very powerful. One word I've written over and over again from that video was when you said each time you study, you are creating space of power inside you. That struck me because at the Leading Lady Mentorship Program, we've been speaking to ourselves to find our voice, own our power, and stand for truth. And when you said when you study, you are creating space for power inside you, I'm like, okay, so this is one of the keys to that. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you for being a light. Thank you so much. You are welcome. Okay, now I will just hand over to our lead mentor and we just jump right into it.
Did you see Dr. Bolu? She wanted to fall out of the screen. She was like all shades of every excitement. What was going on? Okay. So you guys have read the bio. I don't even know where to start, but this is a bio of life. And today we have in our midst, so beautiful. Isn't she beautiful? Isn't she lovely? We have Professor Emese in our midst. It's just that we are sitting there in our rooms and places. If not, we'll probably do the Nigerian style. And super excited to have you here. Honored to be learning from you. And we promise, we don't have to promise to you, but we do, because we're telling it to ourselves as well, that every word that you speak today is going to yield fruit in our lives. So please go right ahead. The stage is yours, Professor.
Thank you. I mean, I've actually been behind listening to you later, thinking, oh my God, there is a lot of talent and knowledge in here. And I could have stayed all evening just listening to you. Thank you very much for inviting me, Bralade. And thank you, everyone, for being here and for being on this journey, because I'm always super excited when I see women take up their place and their space. Recently, this year's International Women Day, the Africa Women in Law organization, they did a book, a project, and I was part of it. And what I said, which is featured, maybe I'll give Bralade the link so maybe she can share it, but it's part of what so many other wonderful, experienced, powerful women in law from Africa said. But what I said was that the really, really important thing for me is that women should own their spaces and feel like they belong. They should feel comfortable in those spaces. Yeah? And make an impact in those spaces that they belong in. And I truly, truly believe that. Now, whatever I prepared has gone out the window. So I'm just going to ad-lib, because I want to go back to what Bolu said about when I talked about studying and that creating spaces of power inside you. We are all the totality of our experiences and our learning. That's who we are. And that can be from the environments in which we grew up, the families in which we grew up, the schools we went to, the subjects we studied. But we cannot be apart from what we learn. And studying, in my mind, isn't just about reading a book. We're studying right now. Sorry, I'm going to be talking from the Bible as well. So I hope if there are non-Christians here, please pardon me, but I believe very strongly.
Yeah, we're fine. We have all faiths here, but we speak from our places of. We speak from our faith and our culture. Yes, we do.
Good, thank you. Okay, yeah. So, but for me, it's really, really important, because as I was saying, who we are is the sum total of the things that we study and the people that we are and the things that we have become. And I believe very strongly the Bible when it says that each one of us, we are of the seed, and a seed grows and then it germinates. There is a seed that is sown in each and every one of us. And whatever that seed is, that is a seed that grows. And so back to our topic today of this fantastic, fantastic woman who from nowhere, literally nowhere, created a movement that got the attention of the world. Can you imagine that? And she started from a place of knowledge. When that video started, when the documentary started, she talked about the linkage between her beginnings, her birth, her origins, and the knowledge of the society in which she's grounded. She talks about how that linked her back to that tree, that sacred tree. And how years later, when she went to college, she understood that which the older people, the culture taught her, actually has an academic understanding to it. They were not just silly people. There was a link, there was a root, and that tree really meant a lot. So for me, I often say that for us as women leaders, it is very important that we are rooted, that we know who we are. Yeah? Wangari Maathai knew who she was. She was unapologetically a woman from her tribe, from Kenya. She was unapologetic in her beliefs. She was unapologetic in her dedication to those roots. And oftentimes, part of the challenge for us in our modern world, as we try to do the things we do, is that a lot of us are not as grounded as we need to be, because there's so much thrown at us. There is the influences from the family, there's the influences from the media, and a lot of the time we find that young people, especially young African people, are in a place of confusion as to who they are and as to the worth of who they are, if they know who they are. Because everything around you tells you that being Black, being Nigerian, or what other countries that we come from, we are inferior. But Wangari Maathai took that bull by the horns, and she explored the linkage between how people felt about being inferior and where it came from. Yeah. And that for me is again about knowledge, studying, understanding. A lot of the time, I mean, and please pardon me, I'm not so much into social media, but I do go on certain forums. And you hear a lot of discussion that always pulls down, And one of the things, and Umbrella there knows this, that I hate is when I hear, now who caused us? There is this feeling that there is something about us that is innately, cursed, that it is innately bad, innately wrong, innately inferior. But what did Wangari say? She says, it is because we are disconnected from our customs and our cultures. And she says, what is culture? She says, culture is coded knowledge. Oh, that hits me. Culture is coded knowledge. Yeah. It is that knowledge that comes from within that you know. You just know. Yeah? And instead of us coming from a place of I know, we are trying to learn and be what we are not. And what I often say is, as long as you're trying to be somebody else other than who you are, you can never be your best you. Because you will always be a counterfeit. The best you is the authentic you that you know. That authentic you that when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to think, it is you. And that is why as leaders, as young women who are leaders and who will be bigger and better leaders than what the guy Maathai, because that's what you're creating here, we must go back and understand that there is nothing wrong with us being us, that we can be authentically us. And that it's only when we are that we can aspire to impact and to influence. Otherwise, we will constantly be learning to be that which we are not, okay? Now, once we are authentically us, the other thing that I really took from that video, which I think is going to be really important for us on this, our journey, is that she connected her academic knowledge to her indigenous knowledge, and there was a fit. There wasn't a cacophony between the two. There wasn't a miscommunication between the two. Because a lot of the time, we kind of feel like if we are to be, somehow our knowledge, what we've learned in books, what we've learned from the world around us doesn't fit in with where we're coming from. But it does. She said the 5 years that she spent in the United States created in her spaces of knowledge and power. She just had to take that back to where she was coming from, and she fit in. She connected with them because she was truly of them. She wasn't telling them about something they did not know. And one of the words she used when they started talking about this tree knowledge, she said, let us learn how to plant trees. That hit me again. She didn't say, let me teach you how to plant trees. She said, let us. She was one of them. You cannot lead if you're not a part of who you are leading. You cannot lead from the outside. The people you are leading have to connect with you and be part of you and see you in them and them in you. We are not bringing knowledge that people don't have. We are only trying to guide and shape and direct the knowledge they have because of the opportunities and the experiences that we have had. So when she was speaking to those women and she was teaching them and bringing people to teach them how to plant trees, she was connecting to the knowledge and the skills that they had and respecting that skills that they have. And that's where respect comes. You can't lead if you don't respect. You cannot lead if you do not respect the people that you are leading. You do not respect what they bring to the table. And she knew how to do that. And then part of what I have heard a lot of you talk about as I came, she was bold. She was one bold woman. Being bold without being obnoxious. She was courageous without being obnoxious. And because of that, she could stand tall. And she used her knowledge again to find spaces to engage that the people that she was engaging with did not understand. So I often tell people, I live in the UK. Sometimes I'm embarrassed to say that. Other times I'm proud to say that. But I'm living in the UK. And one of the things I always say is this: if my being in the UK doesn't bring something to enrich and enhance the life that I have and the people around me, then it is wasted. And what did she do? She knew that when the building was going to take over that park in the space there in Nairobi, she knew, look, I can no longer fight at the local level. She had the knowledge and the experience to say, I've got to go further. And she made a connection that anybody who knows the UK will know. Hyde Park. Will the UK government ever in 1,000 million years do away with Hyde Park? What tells you that you have a higher call to your own space than my people to their own space? She challenged them with the knowledge that she has. I keep talking about knowledge because, the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. A lot of the time, we are social media warriors. We type. And I often say a lot of people waste so much time fighting in spaces they don't need to be fighting and forget the arena where the battle is. You see, Wangari Maathai expressed herself in a way that connected to a wider audience through a mere letter. A mere letter that was precise. It was very short. It was concise, and it hit the nail on the head in a way that I know the British people, it will embarrass the British government. Okay? And then what happened? The battle went down to the personal because they could not engage with her in the place of ideas. They couldn't challenge the intellectual connection she was making. They went to the lowest common denominator. She is a woman. And you see, in your leadership journey, people are going to find that place where they think, I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to find that space, that place where I think you are going to feel shame. And in Africa, who are you? You are just a mere woman. Mere woman. Mere woman. But the truth of the matter was, she did not take the bait. She did not take the bait. What she did, she carried on being her. And she took the debate, instead of going down to their level and say, so because I'm a woman, I cannot talk, even if she didn't go there. In your leadership journey, do not let people take you down to the base where they can have a superior argument. She knew that she didn't have to engage with whether or not she was a woman or not. She focused on what the goal was, what the battle was, and she continued in that battle. Now, something else that I was very, very inspired by, always have been, and reminded again when I rewatched this video, is that you cannot lead if you do not have integrity. You cannot lead if you do not have integrity. If the people, and again, I think somebody, Immaculata was talking about this, if the people cannot trust you. And I remember that scene where she was talking to the women and she was saying, has Margaret caught any tree? Has she caught any tree? She hasn't. And the women laughed because they know that she was not using them for another purpose. Sometimes people lead, in quotes, because they want to use people as stepping stones. And the people you lead that way eventually know. They find out. She never used the people she led. Rather, she always nurtured, always upheld, and was always leading from the front, moving their agenda forward. Integrity is really, really, really important. Another thing that perhaps I want to also talk about is that your course, the course that you call people to, must connect to people's needs. And I think no other person, honestly, in all the people that I study, especially around environmental law, no other person understood that better than this Amazon of Africa. She understood that she had to address the needs of the people she was leading. They had needs. They needed firewood. Yeah, they needed energy. They needed to find a way through these cash crops that they were building to the food crops they needed. And she found a way to connect the environmental concerns to their environmental and subsistence needs. Because at the end of the day, if we cannot meet people's needs, especially their basic needs, they will go find it somewhere. And oftentimes, especially in our age, I think sometimes we forget that we are privileged. I am privileged. I am extremely privileged. And if I cannot understand my privilege, and I sort of think that other people who may not have the privilege that I have to make sacrifices to get to the places I'm asking them to get to, then that becomes a challenge. But if I can connect the course to their needs, then you find an easy followership. because that becomes then a symbiotic relationship. Are we meeting the needs of the people that we are trying to carry along? The other thing, again, that I learned a lot from this woman, is that ultimately, all of our needs are connected. So she was an environmental activist, but there was a connection between that and the subsistence and water needs of the people, as well as their gender, environment, their rights as women. All of these came together. So again, you see that woman who said, in Kikuyu, no, women don't plant trees. And we are planting trees. It was empowering. They were empowered. They were given the opportunity to reevaluate and reconceptualize their personhood and understand that they could plant trees, something that was taken away from them. So this lady did not just start an environmental movement, she started a gender movement. And we know that as women, we are strongest together when we hold each other up and we build each other up. And she talks about how they started to support one another from one community to the other because they could connect, they could understand, they could see. Another point in our leadership journey, when I first read about this woman and I thought, oh, Nobel laureate, fantastic. There is always a battle in the journey. And the battles are not just in the spaces that you think they would be. And so when she begins to talk about the personal and the challenges she felt, the divorce, the financial challenges she felt, you understand that leadership doesn't only occur when you are on the mountain. Your leadership, the task, the burden of leadership that you have doesn't only happen in the good times. You lead and you inspire in spite of the challenges, because you are going to have challenges. You will. I'm not swearing, I believe in God. Yeah, but you will. And in those times when it doesn't look like it is all flowing smoothly, remember that you do not stop being a leader. And those are the times that you will need to acknowledge and look for allies, for support, for strength. So I say, who is mentoring you? You must always be mentored and you must always mentor. You are not so big, you are not so special, you are not so great that you do not need a mentor. We all do. At every stage that we get to in our life, there is a battle, there is a challenge. So remember to always be mentored, because those challenges are going to come. And your leadership doesn't stop because the challenges come. Finally, I think we would have all learned from the life of Wangari that leadership is a journey. She didn't start off as a Nobel laureate. We have to lead in the place that we are. So many times we look for a title, we look for a position, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying generally. If we do not lead in the place we are, it is very difficult for somebody else to pick you to the next place. You choose your place of leadership in the place that you are. This lady chose her leadership journey in the place that she was. Something very simple. She started with the problem, the challenge, the issue in front of her. And she worked with it. And she ran with it. Step by step by step, until she became a force of nature in that space. And so we must all recognize that as we start on this path, we are all on a journey. You are a leader today. And sometimes that may be that you're just nurturing a few people. It may be that you're just bringing a few students together, like was my case. It may be that you're just nurturing your nieces and nephews. Leadership starts where you are. And as you begin to practice your leadership, you will find that it will grow as you commit to it. It takes commitment, a lot of that. Yeah. Wangari Maathai was committed to a cause. She was like, I said she was like a Rottweiler. That's what I always think about when I think about, like, I'm holding on to this thing. I am not stopping. I am sure she never ever thought, it would not have crossed her mind that she will become a Nobel laureate. How? How? So the reason why you lead is not for the laurels. You lead because you believe. You lead because you believe. It is not for the laurels. But as long as you lead because you believe, the laurels will come anyways. Do not chase the laurels, chase the cause. Always chase the cause. And as we chase the cause, the laurels will come. Once we take our eyes off the course and we start chasing the laurels, we lose our path. And in the short time I have been on the face of the earth, I've seen many fantastic friends of mine. And as I'm speaking to you, I'm thinking of one particular one that was at one time tipped to be one of the great changers of the world. And sometimes I worry that we missed the path there and we lost sight of the course. Never lose sight of the course, because that's why you're a leader. It will cost you. Sometimes you will get calls from people that would say, do this. They're going to pay you this. This job is going to be so fantastic because of the thing you've been doing. Are you going to jump ship at that time and take the job? Or are you going to follow the course? Now, I am not saying, look, please, 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 please. If you get a fantastic job and it is what is good for you at that moment, take it. But do not take a shortcut to your end goal simply because it looks good in that moment. Stay on course. And as long as you stay on course and pursue the course, you will get to that end point and the laurels will come. So on that note, I think I've talked for a very long time. I'd like to have conversations. I will stop there. Thank you all so much for listening to me. And I just want to thank God for the fantastic woman that Maathai Wangari was, still is, and all the lessons we continue to learn from her. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Professor Emese. We are so grateful. Thank you. Please, can we celebrate Professor Emese? Please.
Oh my, wow. Who is still awake? At least Dr. Bolu, you can find your voice.
Wow. Wow.
Professor, your video is off. We would love to see your beautiful.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know how that happened.
It went off just at some point. I don't know what happened.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Wow. You guys put your highlights, those ones you were able to capture.
What a mind-blowing session.
Wow. I want a couple of people to say something that stood out to them. Is Ude, are you available to speak? But I don't know, when you said that wasn't your note, what do you mean? Like, was there something else?
No, this wasn't what I was going to talk about, but then I just joined you guys and I was like, wow, so I thought I'll flow with you.
Wow.
So you were not even reading that thing or anything, just talking.
Reading?
Wow.
No, I never read.
You guys, like, I don't have the words, so.
Oh my God.
No, you don't need to read in a place like this. We're just talking, aren't we? We're chatting.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
No, but thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ma. We love you. We celebrate you. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was such a blessed session. Thank you so much, Ma. So many highlights, and I would like to listen to leading ladies who like to listen to you. Is anybody coming on?
No, they're putting it in the chat so you can read it from there. They're putting it in
Okay. Wow. The chat is really bubbling. So
all right.
amazing.
You have a bunch of questions and things, Dr. Bolu. So you go ahead and let's get started. People have been sending questions, but if you have a question right here, feel free to put your hands up and we'll unmute you and put you on, okay?
Yes, we're just.
But you can get started with the ones they already sent to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor. And we have questions for you. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear specifically your story. Because, yes, Ma, because your bio is so profound, so inspiring.
Can you read a bit of it? Can you go ahead and read a bit of Bradford, it? Take it.
So powerful. I'm just going to read a few things from your bio. It says that, Professor MSc, Head of Law, University of Bradford, United Kingdom. Okay, this exceptional lady, I'm reading from our email, so it might be a little bit tweaked. Began a career as a practicing lawyer, but surged into academic with research interest in environmental law and policy, broadly defined. She has acted as an expert or consultant on policy-related work with various organizations such as the United Nations Development Programme, the Africa Capacity Building Foundation, the African Legal Support Facility, and the United Nations Economic Development Planning. She's currently a board member of the Bayelsa State Oil and Environmental Commission, investigating the impact of multinational oil companies in Nigeria. Such a great woman. We celebrate you, man. So we'd like to hear a bit of your story. How did you become this? How did you achieve this, ma? We know that we've heard you speak to Wangari Maathai's story. Someone said a woman and more. Yeah, a woman and more. We've heard you speak about Professor Wangari Maathai's story. And as much as we celebrate her, we also know that you are not just, it's a privilege, like I said earlier, to have you here. And you're not just an ordinary woman. You are one that is inspiring us. Like, it just looks like we're seeing Wangari Maathai, real life. Another edition, a greater edition. So I would like to hear from you on that.
Oh, thank you. My life story. Okay. I was born in a very tiny village. I'm one of 11 children. And always proud that I am one of the last. I'm number 10 of 11 children. So that meant that I come from a family, and there was a lot of love in my family, a whole lot of love. And very, very inspiring people. I grew up in a family in which, from a very early age, I was challenged to think. And I challenged people to think. So that's my background. I would say that I was so many people have touched my lives along the way. My father, first of all, I think, was a man of integrity, and who believed in education above all. He believed so much in education, and he believed in excellence. The contradictions in my upbringing were that, one, I was a woman, but two, that was not an excuse. So you see, I had to do all the cooking and everything, but you also had to excel at everything you did as every other boy did. And I think that those were the early beginnings of my life. And I grew up in a home where there was a lot of debate. And you were allowed to debate. You were allowed to express your mind and say what you thought, as long as we were debating. And I think those were the first beginnings of me learning about values, learning about purpose. And I was very blessed that I then found the Lord Jesus at a very young age. That was a bit that didn't come from my family. I didn't come from a Christian family, so I wasn't brought up going to church. But Jesus found me. And I think the two things together, I think the strong foundation from my family and the Lord Jesus in my life taught me that the really important things in life were about creating impact, were about touching other lives as you go along. And that whatever I am, whatever I will ever be, is by grace. And I think I've lived by those all my life, those two things. Beyond that, I went to the normal secondary schools everybody went to. I went to secondary school in Benin City, and then I went to the University of Benin, and then I went to the Nigerian Law School at the time when there was only one Nigerian law school. I was privileged that God blessed me because I come from humble beginnings, very, very humble family financially. And then I got a really good result at the law school, which allowed me to be offered a scholarship to go to the UK. But for that scholarship, I would never thought I would ever leave Nigeria, because it was never part of my plan. But I got that opportunity, and I went to do my master's. I think going to the UK to do my master's made me understand that there was something beyond what I saw as education in Nigeria when I was an undergraduate. And I really, really wanted to make a difference in that space. I think one of the things I told myself was, when I came back to Nigeria after my master's, was that one. So yeah, I think so. I became really confused after that, because I really loved practice, but I also now loved academia. And in the end, academia won out over practice. I still wish I could practice a bit more because I loved it, but academia won over practice. But there were a number of things I did when I joined academia. One, I said, if I choose academia, I was not going to shortchange my students. I still remember when I chose academia, it was not a favorite choice in my family. I remember my big brother then said, okay, no penny for you. Because I had offers. As I said, I had a really good result when I left. So I had really good offers. So on the one hand, I had an offer of a salary where they were going to pay me 60,000 Naira basic salary then. And then I started to go into academia where they were paying me 4,700 Naira. You know, you can see the difference. So everybody was thinking, what's wrong with you? I mean, are you mad? Are you crazy? I had offers from banks and things, but I thought, no, this is what I want to do. The salary was really, really small. But I remember telling my niece this. I was so sure this was my ministry. I said my job was my ministry, was my mission field. So I decided to stay in academia and earn 4,700 Naira per month instead of 60,000 basic, plus all the other allowances that I missed out. But I think, and since then I was focused. I mean, I'm one of those who, and I say this because I'm trying to challenge young minds here, that for the entire time I lectured in Nigeria, I decided I will not practice. I had opportunities. My late elder brother had his law firm. I could have gone to practice easily and all that. But I said I was being paid a salary to teach students. I will teach students. So I was a full-time academic. I will be at work. I had what I called open door policy so that the students will have access to me. And I decided that my life will count. So as an environmental lawyer, I started to volunteer for an environmental NGO then for free. So that's where I spent my time. But the thing is this, and I think that's one of the things I learned. As I was giving, I was learning. as I was giving, I was learning. And then at some point, I decided to do another master's while I was in Nigeria. So I did that again. And after that master's, I decided I was going to go to do my PhD. I was fortunate again. I still remember I just went to look for a scholarship. And the first one that popped up, I applied and I got it. So that's how I went over to do my PhD. I had the option to do my PhD anywhere in the world. And initially I was in the United States. I wanted to go to Colombia. And then 9/11 happens. And I'm like, no way, So I went back and I came to the UK. I did my PhD at the Center for Energy, Petroleum Law and Policy, Dundee, which at the time was known as the world leading Center for Energy, Petroleum Law and Policy. But again, the other thing I did while I was there, and I'll say this first, on the wall in my university, there's a wall that they call This Woman Can, that's what it says, This Woman Can wall. And it's for all the professors, because in the UK, at the moment, there are 41 Black female professors out of 22,000 professors in the UK. So it's very difficult to become a female professor in the UK. So when you do become one, you're celebrated. I think a couple of years ago, just before COVID or during COVID, they did a feature of all the Black professors, and they called us phenomenal women because it is that hard. But on that wall, they tell you to write something inspiring for the next generation. And what I write on mine is, on my picture, is that you should seize every opportunity. You never know where that opportunity will take you, but every opportunity that comes your way, don't take it for granted. And so what I did at Dundee was I went for my PhD, but the UK PhD system is such that you don't have to do courses. You can just do your research and go. But Dundee gave us this opportunity where you could what they call audit modules, and you didn't have to pay extra. So I thought, really? Okay. So every single subject that I could manage to go to, I did. I joined all of that. And what that did was it really expanded my knowledge, really stretched me at that time. It allowed me see beyond my subject area to what all the other connections were. And I think that's something that has really helped me in my career thus far. Because sometimes people do ask me, you say you're an environmental lawyer, but you teach, international economic law and you do human rights law and all of that. It was because I seized all of those opportunities and I find the linkages between them. So that's my story. And after that, well, God just did the rest. I think what I would say is God has been really good. He's giving me opportunities that I didn't think I would have. And the only part that I have had to play is that when those opportunities come, I seize them and I may try and make the best I can out of them.
Thank you, Ma. That was really profound. Thank you. I love that last statement. She said, seize every opportunity. Yes, thank you so much, Ma. That's really practical. So I have another question here that says, what were your dreams when you were 20? What were your dreams at that time?
When I was 20. You see, that's the thing. I always dreamt big. So when I was 20, my dream was that I'll become a senior advocate of Nigeria. That was the dream. And where I was, it was a big dream then. Yeah, that was the dream. Unfortunately, I left practice, so I became a professor instead.
And you still became that senior professor, because only 41 female professors, Black professors in the UK. Wow, that's really inspiring. Thank you so much, Ma. Many of us would like to be like you, and it's an opportunity to learn from you today, because we are going to tell the story of this day and say that one day we learned from Professor Emese and she inspired us to become this person we are today. Thank you so much, Ma. Okay, so I'd like to get other questions. Does anyone want to talk? Does anyone have any question they would like to say verbally?
All right, just
Okay.
put your hands up if you do, or a point she raised, because I know she ran through this thing, right?
Yes.
If there's anything you want her to elaborate on, please go right ahead. Okay, so I'll ask you to unmute and please go right ahead. Just put your hand up.
Yeah, I think I'd like to read. Is anyone talking?
Oyindamola. Okay,
Oyindamola.
sure.
Oh, I think it was a mistake. So someone said in the comment section that thank you for sharing your story with us, Professor. I've always known there's a phenomenal woman from Nigeria, and listening to her, there are phenomenal women, sorry, from Nigeria, and listening to her, my heart is pumping in excitement. Oh my God.
I think there's a hand.
All right, Tomisi has a question. Go ahead, Tomisi.
Okay.
Hey, hi, Bralade. Good evening, everyone. Once again, Professor. I don't even know what to say. My heart is really pumping. Like, I've just always known inside of me that I just have this strong belief that there is more to women than to African women than we see. And this belief has always been with me for years. And I know that there are women in Nigeria who are breaking ground, who are doing wild and almost unimaginable or things we would naturally consider impossible. And just hearing her speak, I don't know if I'm the only one that is seeing Wangari Maathai in her. Like, everything is just resonating. The picture is modern day Wangari Maathai. Like, okay, now I can put this into modern perspective. And I just have a question, and the question is that how are we able to stay, or how I'm like, I will need a, what's the word now? Our opinion on it, on how to stay motivated in an environment that keeps drawing you back, in an environment that makes it seem like it makes you feel like your dream is almost impossible. How do you stay motivated? How do you feed for the long run? Yes, I think that's the question. Thank you.
That's a beautiful question. And I think, yeah, first of all, I'll go back to our mentor, Wangari Maathai. And as I said, she wasn't in an environment that was conducive. She wasn't in an environment that, it was so easy to do the things she did, but she did them. And so what were the things that she did? And for me, it really is about, I think, as I said, being rooted in that understanding, knowledge, it helps. I think you've got to feed yourself. And I think feeding yourself and knowing is really important. One of the things that I've always, for me personally, believed in is that when you know why, when you know why you are doing what you are doing, it keeps you on the course. We're all women here, yeah? Nobody likes to lose shape. Nobody likes to have stretch marks. Nobody likes any of that. But when we know that the course for which we do all of that is a baby at the end of the day, we do it gladly. We search to do it. Why? Because we know why we do it. And I think as long as we understand why we do what we do, I think that's what keeps us on the course for in the long term. And I think that's why I said back at the beginning that we need to understand and be connected to our roots, and create those spaces of knowledge inside of us that allows us to carry on in spite of the noise that is around us. And sometimes it is just noise. So one of the things I have learned is to learn from history. I'm a student of history. My late brother used to tell me, read history. And I started reading history. And what I find is that when you read history, when you learn from history, you will find that always right wins in the end. It may take a long time, right wins. And on Obama put it this way, says the arc of the universe is long, but it always bends to truth. So when you know that, even in that space, when you're thinking it is so hard, you know that it will always bend to truth. I hope that helps.
Yes, ma. Leading lady Torinsin, I don't know if you got that, but I was inspired. Thank you, ma. Thank you so much, Professor. We celebrate you. Any other questions before we go to comments, insights from this session? Okay, leading lady Ivy, you can unmute yourself and just ask your question.
Good evening, Ma. Good evening, Coach B. Good evening, Dr. B, and good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for this wonderful session. So you mentioned something that I can relate with and I would need more clarity on. You talked about taking on a job that was only going to pay you 4,700 over 60,000 naira. And you know, with us young people now, the money, right? Right? You really want to have the money to take care of all of the needs that are like keeping you right, left, right, center. So, like, what are the disciplines that that you engaged during that period that kept you through that growing phase and helped you stay through the course? Because with all of the bills everywhere, it's easy to just say, "Oh, I beg, let me go for the money," than go for the experience. So, like, what are the things that can help us go through that period and not lose focus because of money?
Okay. I mean, I feel you, I hear you, and what I say is those needs, they've never changed. At the time, I because of how much I was earning, I was at home. And there was a lot I couldn't do that I would otherwise have done if I was earning more. But as I said, two things. One, our basic needs, of course, have to be met. We all have to eat, clothe ourselves, have a house over our heads, and all of that. But I also say, Abraladen knows this, I also say a lot of the time, the things we spend our money on are not basic needs. They are wants. So what I would say is try and define what our needs are and then what our wants are. For our needs, if the salary cannot meet it, find ways in which you can support that if you know you have a cause. Now, if there is no cause and the net, fine. Like I said, if you get a good salary in the road, your path you're on, take it. So I'm not saying, oh, don't take good salaries. No. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if you know, like I knew that academia was my mission, and therefore, if that was my mission, I will need to pay the price. There was a price to be paid. What that meant was that when I did my wedding, I didn't go to whatever to buy a how many thousand naira gown, you know, I sold my gown with tailor next door. I still marry. I've been now married for 25 years, you know. The decoration of my hall when I married was done by my student at the time who used to decorate the halls for the, you know, fellowship events and what. She told me, give me, was it 4,000 and I will help you decorate, and I gave her. Do you understand? So there is a cost. I mean, I didn't do all the tush things that, oh, she studied abroad and whatever that I could have had for my wedding, but I was satisfied in what I had, and I really enjoyed my wedding, and it was beautiful, you know. So it's those things where there is a cost to achieving what you want to achieve. So as long as your needs are met, you can balance out some of the other things. And thankfully, if it is what I always believe, that if that is the vision and that is the end meet, there will always be ways to meet the basic needs, but there will be a cost which you will have to pay in the short term, you know. And at the time you're going through it, it is not a lot of fun. I can tell you it isn't. But ultimately, you will do well. All the time I was lecturing, I didn't have a car. I didn't have a car till I left Nigeria. Can you believe it? I didn't have one. I didn't have one. You know, I still remember when people were telling me, how can you be teaching first-year law students? There are 500 students in your class. Just sell handout. I never sold handout one day, not once. In the entire time I taught in higher education in Nigeria, I did not sell one handout. And all my lecturers, in fact, students were begging me to sell them handouts. And I said, no, I will give you the notes, you know. So there was a cost. That's all I will say. but God sustained me. And if you're on the path that he has put you, he will sustain you.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Ma. Thank you so much. One thing I picked from that answer was satisfaction. You have to be satisfied with what you have. Yes. So Anu would like to speak, then Victoria. So Anu, you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. Good evening,
Good
Professor.
evening.
Good evening, Ma'am. It's such an honor. What I want to say first of all before my question is that you've given us so much tonight, and then it felt like it wasn't the same documentary that everybody watched that you watched, because the way you dissected everything. And you were still able to tell a story so powerfully, as though you've seen her, you met her, she mentored you. It speaks a lot about who you are, from who you are. And I sincerely, personally appreciate you. And you're such an inspiration. It's really big when we see like women of our own color from our own place, like doing all these big things. You're like, God, it is possible. And we really sincerely appreciate you. And I also know, now to my question, I know that you are very big on personal development, meaning that where you are now, you have taken a whole lot of sacrifices for you to get there. So my question is that, what are the systems and the structures that you put in place to grow personally? What are those things that you just do them? Like these ones, you're non-negotiables that makes you grow this way, that makes you like keep pursuing your dreams, your goal. What are those systems and structures that you put in place? Thank you, Ma.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a brilliant, brilliant question. And thanks for all the wonderful things you said. So yeah, a number of things. One, for me, I'll keep repeating it, really important. Pursue knowledge. And in all your searching, get understanding. Wisdom cries out in the streets. Wisdom is crying out on the streets. As long as you have, for me, the first thing is to have a hunger and a thirst for knowledge. And that comes from books. That comes from the media. Those who know me know that I am hooked on news and documentaries. What you're doing now, what I say is, a lot of people don't understand. Sometimes I attend conferences and things because what somebody has spent 30 years of their life learning, I can learn in 1 hour. So I learn, and I do not learn just within my space. I learn from anything that is learnable. So I'm a lawyer, but I listen to economics, I listen to geologists, because there's so much that connects all of us, and you draw a lot from that knowledge. So for me, that is one. I think two is knowing that you don't know. In all of what I have learned, I always know that I don't know. There is so much I do not know. Humility keeps me learning. I hear what you all say, but the people who know me know how much I complain every day about how much I don't know, So I think there has to be a place of humility and understanding that you do not know and that there is more to be learned. I think thirdly is making sure that you find the space, because our lives all get really noisy, and I'm not great at this. Our lives all get really noisy and busy and all of that. Creating that space for you, and finally, I would say mentoring. I always have mentors in my life. When I was growing up, it's a sad thing. I had very few friends who were my age mates. All my friends were older than me. And I mean by much, I don't mean by 2, 3, 4 years. I mean by like much. So I always feel that as long as I'm looking up, I'll always get. But as you're looking up, always pull up as well. You look up and you pull up. These would be the things that I would say I would do. I don't know if that answers.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much. You've answered a million questions from me with everything that you said. Look up and pull up. Oh my God, this year is going to be so interesting. Thank you so much, ma. We love you.
And we'll just give you the mic so you continue from there. How about that? Since you want to anchor. Yeah, my ladies are out in full force. I think there was a question in the chat, Olufola, or someone, you were asking something about mentorship, about mentors. If somebody has that, please repost it. I can't seem to find it. But I see Margaret putting her hand up. Go, Margaret. Okay, Margaret and Victoria, and we are what? We're done. If you manage to sneak yours in the chat, we might just squeeze it in, lump them together and ask, okay?
Thank you,
You don't want to sleep, it's Sunday. People don't want to sleep. Okay, carry on, please, Margaret.
All right, thank you. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for this opportunity. I have two questions. The first one is, you spoke of the sacrifice that you had to make in terms of financial gain by going for the lecturing job because you thought that was what you needed to do at the time. So my question is, was or is there no path today that accommodates public practice and academia, or is it compulsory that you must do it full time? Should I take the second question or should I wait for your response?
Please just take it so that you can have it.
Okay. Then the second question is about your love for history. So you mentioned that you like reading history. So I just want to know if there's any way you go about reading history, or it's just random research and reading of historical facts. Thank you.
Okay.
Let me add something to that question, because Margaret, you asked something that a lot of people ask, and maybe Auntie, you can focus on that second part, Professor. A lot of people think that when they want to be serious in life, the first thing they do is they stop watching TV. They cut off social media. It's such a, if you've heard what I'm saying before, put it in the chat. Anyone that's advising you about, being serious, cut off social media, stop listening to news, CNN this, Fox News, that all sorts of things. But she has found a way. You guys heard, Anu said something that when she started talking about the documentary, it was as though you guys didn't watch it, or some people didn't watch it. I know you guys have been sharing your insights, so you definitely know. But the key thing I want you to please address in this moment is, so many people know how to look for what they want now. Somebody wants to learn sewing, they go for the apprenticeship, they will go and follow all these fashion designers, everything. We know how to do that one. But this one about creating these spaces of power within ourselves, I don't think a lot of people have mastered it enough. So can you speak to what that, especially that second part she said, how do you go about watching it, and how do you, because some people have the tendency to also be consumed without really making anything good out of it. So I know you do it, and I want to hear, and maybe is there some prep work they should do before they actually enter that kind of submersion?
No, thank you. I'll answer the easy one. Yeah, when I started lecturing, you could both practice and lecture. So it was allowed. It was a decision of mine, because I saw that a lot of my colleagues who were doing it at the expense of the job they were paid for. And I felt that if I was going to criticize governments, if I was going to criticize people, it had to start with me. And so if I was being paid for a piece of work, I needed to do it full time, not part-time, which I saw a lot of people doing. So that was a decision. Now, that didn't mean that, yes, I couldn't go to maybe the odd cut, whatever, one day to get some experience. That is fine. But I didn't want to make my job, for which I was being paid, a part-time job, because I felt that, again, it was about integrity, and it was about commitment to my students and being fair to my students. The second one about deciding what I read in terms of extracurricular history or documentaries or whatever. So when it comes to history, what I read a lot of the time is trying to understand how societies have developed, and also trying to understand two types of leaders: good leaders, bad leaders, because I think that you learn from both. What do good leaders do? How do they become good leaders? What are the things that, if you like, the foundations of their life? What are the things that influenced the path that they took? And bad leaders the same, because I think that helps us to understand and effectively critique and develop, answers to the challenges that we have. The other way I look at history as well is to try and understand different countries at different times in their development, because I wanted to understand, are we really hopeless as a continent? Are we really hopeless as a country? Is there anything really different in Nigeria where we are and say the UK where I was coming from? So I went into that sort of history to understand their institutions, their structures, and the path of their development. And then finally, the other thing that I've also tried to learn a lot about is how imperialism occurred and continues to impact on Africa as a continent and Nigeria as a country. How do these relationships form? How do they interact? What are the spaces of power? What does hegemony mean? How are hegemonies formed? How do hegemonies impact on emerging cultures and emerging systems? And what that does for me is that it allows me to critique, understand, explain our experience from a place of knowledge, not just feeling. Now, in terms of trying to structure our lives around the things that we need to do, yes, there are some people who just live in social media, and I think we have to be able to manage our time well. So I find structure. So Saturdays usually are my days for engaging with documentaries a lot of the time. And then during the day, in the evenings, when I'm working, I always have either the news or a documentary in the background. For me, it doesn't distract me. It just goes on. So I hear that as I go along. So I build the news into my day. If I'm walking, whatever. So when somebody else may be looking at, I don't know, styles and things, that's what I do. So it's about finding space in our busy day in a way that it is used constructively. And then when I want to chill, I do chill as well, and finding that time. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's really challenging, but find those spaces where you say, this is what is important to me. This is a time that I am going to utilize to do it. There's something I teach my students or the people I mentor. I say we all have 24 hours in a day. Let me say we all need 8 hours to sleep. I don't sleep for 8 hours, but let's say we all need 8 hours to sleep. That means we have 16 more hours. We all have then 8 hours in which we do our normal work. That means we have 8 more hours in the day. What you do with that other 8 hours is the difference between achieving and staying this way. What do you do with that extra 8 hours, the one when you're not working? Those 8 hours are critical. And if we all use those 8 hours effectively, I think it will help us get to the next level.
Wow. Thank you. Bolu, do you have something to say? I know, Victoria, you wanted to ask something that you would have been the final person, but so they're asking about mentors, right? This is an age of mentors, and well, when I say this is more an age of coaches and stuff. So someone's asking, how do you know the kind of person to follow? So for example, one of those things you mentioned about lecturers, certain types of lecturers kind of going the wrong way in terms of their priorities. If that kind of person then said they want to mentor you, what should you do? So the very young, impressionable people, how should they go about,
identifying
a mentor, or what should they look for in a mentor?
Okay. I think for somebody to be mentored by you, or for you to be mentored by somebody, there has to be a meeting of the minds. There always has to be a meeting of the minds. There are some people I cannot mentor because they will find me very boring. There are people I have tried to mentor who thinks, her own is too much. Waiting, she should just let us be. So there has to be a meeting of the mind. And so I would say, whenever you're trying to find a mentor, look at them beyond what they have achieved to what they believe. Like I always say, it's about, because that's who you are, the character, what they believe, what the cause is, what the purpose is. If it aligns with yours, then that is the person to go for. So there has to be a connection and alignment between two people for the goals to be achieved together. Remember what I said about Wangai Maathai, the fact that she found a way to connect to those women. Yeah. Wangari connected with the women in terms of their subsistence, but also in terms of their gender, and then the environment. It wasn't just one way and another way. Everything has to come together. And I think that's what you need to look out for. Because you're right, if you get the wrong mentor, they'll give you the wrong advice. But then if somebody really wants, if their goal is to be reached, then I'm the wrong mentor for them. Do you see what I mean? You know?
All right, Victoria, squeeze it right in and we can, wow, you haven't even drank water. Okay, Victoria, come on.
I'm used to talking for others.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much, wisdom. My question is, you mentioned at some point that we should, start leading in the place that we are, and that, would grow from there. And there's a belief that people cannot lead. They don't necessarily hold positions. Like, I'm not the class captain, so there's nothing I can do. So how do we lead when we're not given the power? So when we don't have to, how do we
Okay, Victoria, it's cutting a little, but I got what, I'm sure she got what you said, which is, how do you lead without a position, an office, a title? Yeah.
I think actually the best way to lead is not to have a position or a title. Actually, that's the best way to lead, because it means that you inspire people to follow you. Again, look at Wangari. She didn't have a title with those women, but she connected with them. She inspired them. And I think ultimately, those make the best kinds of leadership. If you can inspire, people will follow you. Like I said, if you connect with them, people will follow you if you say something that connects, with them in their lives. You don't have to have a title. And even when you have a title, if you do not have a way to inspire people, you will not be leading them. You may be bossing them, but you will not be leading them. You may be their boss, and they may do things because they have to. It doesn't mean you're leading. Leadership is, for me, especially the kind of, what I call horizontal leadership, is always about connections, about inspiring people. Once you meet somebody's need, once you connect with somebody's questions, they will follow you.
Wow. This
all
is
right. Dr.
fun.
Buli wants to give the vote of thanks and then we can go. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, I got to do this right. Ad spotlight. You guys, you see how I'm just letting you have the show today because it's your model mentor, but mine also, before all of you before.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Emeste. We are grateful for this opportunity. And it's so beautiful that today is Mother's Day and you have carried out motherly duties for us today. We have been nurtured, you have led us, you have mentored us, and it's a privilege. And that's why we're celebrating you and saying Happy Mother's Day to you today. You can see on our screen a design and just a beautiful picture to appreciate you.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Please, if we can unmute and just say Happy Mother's Day, Professor Emeste, I will be so excited. Everybody, leading ladies, come out, let's.
Happy Mother's Day,
Professor.
we love you, Professor.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. And thank you for staying until this time. I know that it is past, oh my God, it's past 10.
They just
It was worth it. You really are like such boatload of knowledge. Thank you so much, Ma. We're sure that our future selves are thanking you already. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for standing as light. Thank you for inspiring us. And we are so grateful for tonight's session. Thank you so much, Ma. And Someone said we lost track of time. Okay, Mrs. Bralade.
Thank you so much, Bolu. Bolu is our coordinator. And Dr. Bolu.
Fantastic one. Well done. Fantastic, lady.
Thank you, ma.
I think you're all fantastic, actually.
Bolu is Bolu, you can stop sharing now. Bolu, you're just graduate. Have you done the pass out parade for the NYSC?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, look at you. Like you're a full-fledged vet doctor now. Like nobody's even holding you. I just really want to say thank you on behalf of everyone here. You guys don't know, but that kind of mentorship she spoke about is what has allowed me to be here today with you all, is what has allowed me to live the kind of life that I live. I hope you saw those values in the chat. And if any of you, you're going to the UK, I don't know why you will not go to University of Bradford. And I don't know why you will not write to her first before even, if you are going, yeah, definitely ask her questions if you have some. But I can't say, some of the guiding words and things that have really helped me navigate life, even the unspoken ones. I just know that, what will Professor do? It's already a mentorship to me. And I think that it speaks to the testament of the kind of person you are. Some people, they just quote. It doesn't matter who it doesn't matter what their character is, right? You just quote, this person said this, that person said that. But by living your life, you preach a message daily. I didn't expect that you will now add also speaking to it. It's just baffling just how many talents and gifts you have. Okay, thank you so much. If there's one thing you will leave us with today or two, what would it be? Give us assignments. Don't worry, I won't submit it to you, but we'll have it. If there's one thing, what will you give us?
Oh no, I'm always teaching, so I don't want to give an assignment. Rather, I'd like to leave you with an inspiration. I'd like to say you're here. Because you're here, you're already on the road. And I want you to believe, okay? Just believe. Every day when you wake up, when it looks like it's not connecting. I heard that question about finances. I heard it. I heard the question about where you find the time to do this. I heard all of that. But when you wake up and it doesn't look like it's happening, believe. Just believe. It will come to pass. Just believe.
I haven't the words, but thank you all. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We know that it was a sacrifice and we do honor and appreciate it. Can you all say thank you and good night?
Thank you.
To Professor.
Thank you, good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Ma. Good night.
Thank
you so much. Good night, Ma.
Thank you, Bolu. Thank you, Anu. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Yemi. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I want to encourage the rest of you, please definitely turn in your workbook if you want insights on it. Those insights that you've got, put it in the group. There's a reason why. In fact, this one we are going to unpack, but don't worry, later we'll unpack it. Right, Bolu?
Yes, Mom.
All right, close us out for the night. Please, somebody, can you appreciate me? Because giving you this kind of juice is kind of juicy. Because if I had it when I was your age, I did have it though, but yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So I think I'll just point out at somebody to give us the vote of thanks for tonight. And that would be, okay, Mrs. Yewande.
For what, Sherry?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, beautiful.
Like tonight I didn't start the session because we kind of had a family gathering. But from where I started till now, it's been so much healing, so much unlearning, so much learning, so much relearning. It's like I'm hearing the word leadership in an entirely new new what's it called, an entirely new way, like I've never heard it before. And I am so grateful for tonight. And a big thank you, loads of love, hug to you, Ma. So much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. I hope I'm doing what I ought to. I'm saying what I ought to say.
Yes, you did. But don't worry, you don't have to make it longer. But we love you, Yewande, and you definitely know that.
And Dr. Bolu, thank you so much for anchoring the session so wonderfully. I think you should start looking up a role in MC, compare, and stuff like that. You would really do great. Thank you so much.
Professor, did you want to say something? I saw you come on camera. You're muted.
No, I was just going to say, Yewande, your photo looks beautiful. I wish you would just let us see.
Yewande.
You look beautiful.
Yewande won't sleep this night.
It's back there. I'm not prepared for this. I'm not prepared for this. And
don't worry, don't feel like you have to. But
this is not my real face. But anyway, here I am. This is Yewande. Oh, okay. Can you see me?
Yewande is your face.
Okay, so this is my latest face. We don't have pasta. I'm trying to just. So
your face is beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom. All right. Thank you.
All right. Good night, y'all. If I leave you want to do all night. So see you
Good
later.
night, Mom.
Good night.
Yes, Mom.
Good night.